What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the data points, break it down what moved it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure you guys hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So SoFi did close 4.98% in the green. Absolutely kick-ass day and an amazing way to end the week. So 28.24 the low, 29.63 the high. So absolute new high for SoFi, so all-time highs being hit and a lot of volume. So 74.3 million shares being traded, 66.02 is the average. No news from SoFi today. There was a 144 that was submitted after hours yesterday. So when I did my video, I guess I did it between this 444 and the 541. So there was two 144s that did come out. So the second one was Kelly. So she did sell about 30,000 shares, give or take, and it was not for tax purposes. But at the end of the day, the market didn't seem to give two craps about this or Jeremy selling. Market was just really moving higher. Macro data points, we didn't have any data whatsoever. So today was more of a reflection day. So the market kind of just digesting what came out this week as far as rate cuts, what was said for the future and everything else. One big thing as well that was moving a lot of stocks was technicals. So in SoFi's case, things are looking absolutely parabolic. So no wonder it went up as high as it did, but you also did have a certain level of massive institutional transactions today. One thing I do want to bring up though, surprisingly, was shorts did increase 89,000 shares. 8.74% of the free floats being shorted, works out to be 102.87 million shares overall being shorted. When I was actually preparing for this video, I was kind of prepare right before the market does open or close, sorry, and they were at that time returning 200,000 shares. So that means in the last 15 minutes of the trading day, they covered that 200 plus also increased 89,000 in a attempt to have it close below 29.50, because with it closing at 29.51, that does mean that the 29.50 and below strike prices are considered in the money. So things did not work out in market makers' kind of favor. So that could make for a very interesting going into next week, a very nice gamma squeeze. But at the end of the day, shorts did increase about 89,000 shares. DTC still at 1.46 days, still signaling that shorts are overextended. One thing I do want to bring up, so this information was as of yesterday. So currently there's about $7.28 trillion sitting in money markets. For those of you that have watched a lot of my videos earlier on in the year, like 2025, when at that time people were starting to kind of talk about rate cuts and how they were coming soon and blah, 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 and that kind of stuff, which turns out I guess they weren't. But nonetheless, once we got a clear sight of what was coming in the foreseeable future, that was going to prompt a nice rotation out of money markets into both crypto and equity. So last week, over this last week, we did have $19.49 billion that left money markets to go into, like I said, crypto and equity. So this might be the start of something bigger potentially happening in the broader market, a very big market rotation, similar to what happened between 2020 and 2021, just magnified tenfold. And for those of you that don't remember 2021, everything, you could have thrown a dart at anything and it was going up. So potentially going into the next little bit, you could see things get very real very fast. So yeah, let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. When it comes down to options, we had 137 million in calls, 19 million in puts, and then 46% of all the options being done were bullish in nature. Net premiums did increase 14.4 million as well. And so, yeah, things are definitely heating up. Even I was kind of looking back at just some of the price action. Even if you did, let's say we were at that $22 range and you bought a $25 call, you would be up almost about 200% right now. That is insane. And this is post the Q2 earnings. So once they did actually announce that dilution and it was starting to go down, if you somehow bought a $25 call, you made some serious money. Even essentially right now, with us hitting all-time highs, if you still do believe that SoFi is going to continue to go higher, you can always just buy a straight up call. And if the stock price goes up, let's say 20-30%, the actual option itself will be magnified tenfold. So again, take the time over the weekend to research options. Could be very, very beneficial. But when it comes down to kind of how today played out from this standpoint, we did have 38,000 at that 30, so that expired worthless, 7,000 at that 29.50. So with us closing at 29.51, that's considered in the money. Same with everything below. So 17,029, 10,000 at the 28.50, 19,000 at the 28, 8,000 at the 27.50, 14,000, and blah, blah, blah. You don't need me to go through all this. I did add it all up, 127,000 in the money options. Of course, I think leading into today, it was fair to assume that market makers probably already did cover probably the 24.50 and below already, because it was fair to assume that SoFi wasn't going to go to those levels. But this nonetheless could make for a very interesting going into next week. Aside from that, these are some of the transactions that did occur on the secondary market. So you still, once again, are seeing some crazy buys. 1.7 million, 3.6, 1.4, 1.9. So this one right here was very interesting. So 2 transactions at 25.4 million. One 861,750, one 749. So kind of interesting for that. 2.8, 1.1, 1.05. And most likely over the next little bit, you will be seeing a lot more of these types of transactions as institutions will be rebalancing by the end of Q3. Aside from that, it still goes on and on. So I'm not going to bother waste your time and go through all this. So feel free to pause it and go through it. But there is quite a lot of transactions, as you can kind of see. So seeing multi-million-dollar transactions is kind of normal now. And so yeah, this is pretty good stuff. One thing that did also happen with SoFi is most of the transactions or the volume today was linked to actual institutions and not algorithmic trading. So it's still going on, still tons and tons and tons of transactions. Even more so on the dark pool. Dark pool, you see a couple ones after hours as well. So that could be market makers already starting to cover. So 4.07, 5.3, 2.1, 1.1. So yeah, things are about to get very real, very fast for SoFi. And as I mentioned in my weekend video, where I go over some expectations and whatever else, I did say that most likely SoFi, given the circumstances and Powell giving a cut, we were going to land between this R3 and this R2, and that's exactly where it did land. So with it closing at 29.51, it is smack dab between this R3 and this R2. So kind of very close away from that 30.25, and if it is able to get above that, then on the table is $36. So very exciting stuff. No new analyst ratings on a side note. So last one did come out yesterday, $31 price target. Most likely you will be seeing more and more bullish ratings coming out associated to SoFi, because as I've shared with you, a lot of analysts are just overpaid sheep, and they see a stock running up, they want to be part of it, right? They want to not be the bearish rating. So a lot of these 21s will probably jump on board and start giving 30s. Most likely the Compass Point, Giuliano, and a lot of the other bears will just cower in their cave. But yeah, exciting things are coming for the foreseeable future. Aside from all that on the actual chart, honestly, there's nothing really negative to bring up about SoFi's chart other than it's overbought. So first sign of weakness, you could see some negative consolidation. But generally, SoFi is on a massive, massive tear. So that's always a good thing. And basically, there hasn't really been all that much in articles or news or anything like that worthwhile to bring up. So I think right now we're just going through, once again, another kind of transition type of scenario, because SoFi, I think for the longest time, always just had a bank multiple, which is kind of why a lot of bears and analysts said, hey, SoFi is just a bank and blah, blah, blah. But since beginning of Q2, late Q1 possibly, this is where SoFi started to really hint again that, hey, we're going to be launching crypto in 2025, like things are going to get very real. I feel like at the same time Robinhood had a big event in Q2, that's when maybe the market started to really give SoFi a crypto multiple as well. And so I feel like this is also one big attributing factor why SoFi went through this crazy boom and just constant buying ever since it started June 23rd, 2025. Since then, SoFi went through a massive run. And actually, in fact, I think 7 consecutive days in a row right here, and it looks like 6 consecutive there. So too bad for this one day right there, because that would have been a like market record, having 15 or whatever consecutive green days. But nonetheless, exciting times are ahead. So take the time to research options like I mentioned. One final thing, if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto, pop over to my Patreon. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.